So, Phil, you are just a small town boy from a rural town in southern Missouri. How in the hell did you end up living in Argentina? How does that even work? How did you become an expat? And this is the kind of question that I kind of get asked a lot. Maybe not quite so directly, but I do get asked that. And no, it was not the midnight train going anywhere, in case you're a Journey fan. But anyway, I just wanted to make this video for friends and family that, I haven't necessarily talked to in a while, and they don't really know how or why I'm here. I've got this little list. Well, how did you end up in Argentina? Um, well, long story short, several years ago, my life went through some really big changes. I found myself living in this town that I was born in and had lived in for most of my life, and I needed to get out. It's really that simple. I needed to kind of reestablish a life, and I wasn't really sure how to do that. So I started with travel. I went to a few places in the U.S. I went to Colorado, I went to the Northwest, I went to the Southwest, and right after COVID happened, I started traveling the world. I went to something like 15 different countries in just a year or two, and just kind of taking things in, seeing what the world was about, meeting lots of people, and just trying to kind of figure things out. I didn't set out to be a a digital nomad. I feel like that's such a pretentious term, but I guess that's what I did. Because I wanted to travel and I wanted to see the world, and I wasn't in a hurry to do it, and I also didn't want to quit my job. So what that ended up looking like was I would travel on the weekends. I would go to a new place, I would check things out, and during the week I would just work. Since I work remotely, it worked out okay. So I did that for quite a while, and I went all over the dang place. I went to Europe, I went to Africa, I went to South America, and eventually, though, I ended up going to Buenos Aires. I had heard good things about it, and so I thought I'd go check it out. And I kind of had like this backup plan of, well, after being there for a while, then maybe I'd move on to Peru or Brazil, and do some more things there. I met a girl, and she was very, very beautiful and very sweet, and before long we started developing a relationship. And of course, that has a lot to do with how I ended up in Argentina. But Argentina itself is very comfortable. Argentina itself is a very nice place to be. Even besides that, and then that just kind of really did the rest, you could say. After dating for a while, I needed to go back to the United States for some things, and after talking and discussing it, we kind of came to the conclusion that, like, maybe she should come with me. Maybe because from her point of view at that point in time, like, yes, we had this nice thing going on, but at the same time, I was still like this traveling digital nomad guy that just lived in Airbnbs and didn't really have a history or community around him. It was kind of like, it's kind of an odd situation, and we decided that she would come back with me to the U.S. and see where I came from. It wasn't her first time in the U.S. She'd been there before, but she had been to places like Miami and New York, and I was dragging her into a tiny town in southern Missouri to get a whole different idea of what the U.S. was all about. But yeah, so we did that, and she came back with me, and I introduced her to my family and my friends, and took her to my favorite brewery and Silver Dollar City and all kinds of other things, and we had a really good time. And by then we were just kind of living together, because if you're traveling together, you're kind of living together. And so we started talking about where we might want to live. And that kind of goes into the next question, which is like, why not live in the US? And the answer to that is that we actually checked out a lot of places in the US. We considered coming back to West Plains and buying a house, or buying a house in one of the nearby places that were similar and close, but also maybe a little bit bigger or had more things available. But I just wasn't, personally, I wasn't ready to move back to the United States, and I wasn't ready to live back in the Ozarks, I should say. So we checked out some other places. We went to California. We went to Nevada. We spent a bunch of time in Nevada, and we kind of thought that might be the place. And you know, like, Nevada is beautiful. Like, we were in Reno, so we were close to the Sierra Nevadas. Reno's a cool town. I like it a lot, but it just never felt like a place that we were really going to call home. So yeah, we moved around a bunch, and then eventually we decided to head back to Argentina. And we got back to Buenos Aires, where she already has a house, so we stayed there for a while and started looking at different places that we could be in Argentina. And then we took a big road trip. We took another big trip all around Argentina. So we went south and we checked out Bahia Blanca, which is like this area where there's like awesome beaches and different things like that. Puerto Madryn, there's, again, it's flat, but it has like beautiful beaches. You can see orcas, and there's a lot of diving and different wild, sea life around there. And then we drove across the country to get to Patagonia. Well, I guess technically we were in Patagonia, but that's for another video. But when most people think of Patagonia, they think of the Andes and that section. So that's what I'm referring to. We came across to the mountains, and we liked it. And so we just went from town to town, kind of checking out the different. Oh, speaking of, hi, babe. We just kind of went from town to town, and tried to get like the characteristics of the land and the personality of the town itself. And yeah, we just kind of made our list of places that we want to be. And it really wasn't much of a it wasn't a very hard choice when it came right down to it. We definitely wanted to be in Argentina. It's the pace of life is slower. The cost of living is lower. The places that we want to live, we're just here. Another big question I get asked a lot is, while living here, is the language barrier a huge issue? And the fact is, I don't speak very good Spanish. It's something that I am constantly working on. Oh my Lord, what are you guys doing? You're making so much noise back there. Oh my God. Anyway, I'm working on my Spanish. I'm constantly working on my Spanish, but I'm not very good yet. I still speak very simply and kind of like a small child. And I find that most of the time that gets me by, to be honest. Like, I'm not out having deep philosophical conversations with anybody. At some point, I would like to make friends here that always speak in Spanish, and I have good enough Spanish that we can find things in common and, hang out. But I haven't got there yet. And right now, to be honest, like, I don't miss that much. I still have lots of friends where I come from. I can still get my friends on the phone, and we can chat and, like, catch up with all the goings on around the place where I'm from. And but most of the time I have a job to do, and then a house to run, and I have a wife, and she speaks very good English. And yeah, and I found that to be true even in countries that I don't speak any of the language. The fact is, like, if you grab some things at a store and then you walk up to the counter, they know you're there to buy things. They know you're there to pay and then walk out of the store. You can point at things on a menu and they'll know to bring you that thing. Like, it's not as bad as you might think. What are some of the big differences? There's fewer differences than I would have expected. I feel like Argentina and the US have a lot in common, even though, if all you know about South America is the Mel Gibson movie where he runs around the Amazon forest, like, yeah, you might think there's a lot of difference, but that's not really what South America is like. That's just not it. The truth is, like, as countries, we were colonized around the same time, and we both have this like east to the Wild West expansion pattern, and like Argentina and the United States went down the same path. There are places where one went left and one went right, but in the end, there's just more similarity here than differences. And there are some differences. Having said that, driving is a lot crazier. I still don't like driving in Buenos Aires, at least not the really busy parts of it. People are just a lot more aggressive on the road, and the rules of the road are mostly the same, but they're more strong suggestions. Not even strong suggestions, um, like a stop sign. I will tell you, in Argentina, if you see a stop sign, it's a yield sign. It's not a stop sign. You're expected to slow down a little bit, make sure nobody's coming, and then blow through that thing, which also gives me a little guilty pleasure every single time I do it. Um, but but yeah, it's a little different. The food is very different. The food tends to be, I don't want to say plain, but I'm gonna have to say plain. There's not as much spicy food here. The food, there's not as much, like, I didn't realize how much sauce we used in the US. But there's like, you're not going to get a lot of barbecue sauce or marinara sauce or gravy. There's no gravy. Um, of course, you can buy the stuff and make it yourself, but you're not going to get any gravy at any restaurant that I've been to. Cuisine wise, like as far as like what's available to eat, it's a very meat and vegetables kind of place. Meat, vegetables, bread, pasta. You get milanesas, which are chicken fried steaks. You get empanadas, which are basically kind of like pizza pockets, but they're not. They don't aren't filled with pizza things. It's like a pizza pocket full of ham and cheese, or ground beef and onions, or something like that. You get a lot of pizza, a lot of pasta. You get a lot of asado and grill items. And yeah, I mean, there's of course there's more, but everything tends to be just basic foods, really plain. And there aren't a lot of ethnic restaurants. Like in the town we live in, there is not a Mexican restaurant to be found. There is not an Asian restaurant to be found. Pretty much the menu is almost the exact same in every place. So a lot of times, if I get in the mood for tacos or burritos or anything like that, I'm gonna have to cook it, and I'm okay with that. Having said that, before I get off the subject of food, though, I do feel like the food supply here is better. I think that the vegetables and things that you get in the markets is generally just better. It's not so much like greenhouse food that you get in Walmart in the U.S. The quality of meat is much better. Like when you buy a steak, it's going to have that kind of like grass-fed flavor to it. It's not going to be like almost flavorless like you get in the US. Like it's I feel like just the quality of the food, it tends to be a lot better. They also cut out most of the coloration and the preservatives and things like that. I mean, of course, if I want some Oreos or some Cheetos, I can go get them. But as far as the general food, I feel like it's like much truer to the ingredients. I should say, should put it that way. You're not going to get, and you don't get as much pre-prepared food in like plastic bags and that you just throw in the microwave or anything like that. It's just more basic stuff. The last question that I wanted to answer today was like, do you miss home? Do I miss the old life sometimes? Do I miss like my friends sometimes? Well, yeah, of course I do. But it's not an overwhelming everyday kind of feeling. I do feel nostalgic sometimes, but no, really, like, I'm very happy. Like, I just had a horse come up to the fence over here and he wants an apple. Like, I'm out here making videos. We're searching for a house. I'm doing my job. There's places to go hiking and kayaking and fishing and yeah, I really love it here. And so, if I'm being honest, yes, I do miss it sometimes, but it's not the majority of the time. The majority of the time, life is happening here and now, and I'm liking a lot here in Argentina. We're not tied to the place. We'll come back to visit. We will. But yeah, for now, that's my story. That's how I became an expat. That's where we live today, and I hope things are going well wherever you are. So that's it.